Hello, 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 everyone. This is Linda G. Robert, your Back in the Groove Again coach. I'm here to help you live your best life now so you can love what you do. And as you may know, if you've been listening to all these wonderful interviews, one of my goals this year is to connect with interesting people that I've connected with over the last year or so. And I've invited Leslie Capps again to the show to talk about something that's really interesting. Now, I won't tell you that right away what it is, but you'll have to stay tuned. And let me remind you who Leslie is. So Leslie Capps is known as the entrepreneur marketing strategist at Wild Woman Marketing, masterfully blends marketing and sales into a unified narrative. With a diverse background, including a diversity educator, ranch ownership, sea kayak tours, and real estate investor, Leslie brings a unique perspective to her work. A master's in psychology and skills as a human design projector, hint, 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 aid her in crafting impactful strategies from initial pitches to sales. Her experience with the National Association of Women in Education and her innovative MacGyvering technique, you'll have to look at the other video to find out a little bit more about that. They enrich her robust coaching skills. Leslie's authentic, inclusive approach makes her a standout educator and strategist in the industry. Welcome, 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 Leslie.
Woohoo! Right? I hope I can live up to that amazing introduction. So thank you, Linda.
Today, we are focusing on human design. And I don't know what I've said, what I've agreed to.
Right? We're going to do it in live, in person, right now. Woo!
So please lead us through this process. And I honestly, I know I had to provide some details, but we're still going to go through it. I don't know what the process is. I'm
Right?
here in Mexico. Where are you, by the way?
I am in Wyoming, hence why
Okay.
I'm wearing a sweater and you're wearing short sleeves, right? Yeah, I've been dreaming of Mazatlan the last few days because it's been very cold and windy here. So,
And warm here. I've been walking the beach, by the way, but you don't really want to know that I've been walking the beach nearly every day. Okay,
great,
human
great.
design, human design.
Yeah. Okay. So, just a little bit of a backstory. I did not know about humans design until recently, and a friend got into it and said, "How have you tried this out?" I like all kinds of personality tests. I find them infinitely interesting, right? But so many of them are really complicated in the sense of like you're four or five different things, and then there's combinations, and yeah. So, and I've never really found one that I like, oh, so like totally me, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, and she said, so I took the test. It's when you get the results, you're kind of like, what? Because it's in a chart form and it feels very overwhelming. So I never looked at it. And a couple of weeks later, she said, well, what was your design type? And I said, I don't know. She said, well, I'm looking for a projector. And I said, okay, I'll look, right?
That's what a projector.
And yeah, and lo and behold, then I was a projector. So now I'm super intrigued. And we started to have a conversation. And then I got more intrigued and went out and found out. And I'm so projector, right? This is the one test that totally explains how I'm wired, why I behave the way I behave, and gave me so much grace for my own self. My own situation, projectors are 20% of the population. So I always knew, like, I didn't think like the rest of the world, right? It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
painful in school sometimes because it wasn't like I didn't want to be called on, but I just knew my answer would be wrong. And knowing that, and in fact, so I always thought, how come I don't think like everybody else? Like, I get it, but I don't understand why I can't just think like them.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also made me super intrigued how other people, their human design types and how we interact and how, because there is a difference, right, in the world, the way you
Yeah.
interact. So with Linda, because she doesn't know, I've got, and there's all sorts of free tests. In fact, I haven't seen a paid one, so don't pay for a test. Everybody wants
Okay,
you to get
and
a
we'll
free
put the
one.
link. We'll put the link later.
Yeah, and it's just obviously somebody else's site. But there's a bunch out there. So you can get the test. You can, if you're not sure where to go, Chat GPT. You can attach it as a PDF into Chat GPT and say, tell her, like, analyze this for me, and she will help you out.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Right?
I
Because
haven't I haven't used my boyfriend for that yet, but I just might later.
right, I love me some chat. She and I spent a lot of time together. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, see, me,
Yes.
it's a, and I love him. He is my new boyfriend, but please keep going.
Right? No, she's I cannot take credit for this, but a woman in a group said, chat is my new best friend and she never queries or she never tires of my endless queries.
Oh,
Right? Yeah, and that's the way I feel because I'm like, what about this? What about this? What about that? Can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah. So all you need is your date of birth and then the hour and minute. Now we
okay.
only have Linda's hour. So I did a little research. I think that's not going to mess us up that much. You would get a little more granular if you had the minute, but
Mhm.
like don't get hung up in that, right? And then the location. So, what's the month of your birth, Linda?
January, so first,
Okay. And the date
18th,
and the year.
1958.
Okay. And you said you were born in the morning, right? 6 a.m.?
I think it was around 6, yeah. But in terms
Okay.
of minutes, I don't know, but I think my mom had told me I was born around 6 something. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just gonna put 6:15 a.m. I
Okay,
think
yeah.
again, it'll be close enough. And then the city or this, let's see, the state, city, or town name. I guess any of
Well,
those.
it was Sudbury, Ontario. So Sudbury is the city, Ontario is the province in Canada.
Let's put Ontario. It's giving me some choices here. Hmm,
Canada, right? Ontario, Canada, because I think there's an
right?
Ontario in the States too, I think.
So what would be the closest? I've got Toronto, Ottawa, Hamilton, Brampton, London, Oshawa,
No,
Windsor.
try Greater City of Sudbury. Wonder if it comes up under Greater City of Sudbury.
Okay. And I don't
Because,
know that it's, well, yeah. I think as long as we're in the general location, um,
well,
because I think it's based on some meridians and latitudes and that kind of
okay.
thing as well.
Well, Toronto's 4 hours south of Sudbury.
Okay, let's just go with Toronto. I
Okay,
think, yeah. So it's going
all
to take
right.
a minute here, I believe.
What's going on? What's going
Ah,
on?
right. So you are a generator, and
Huh?
70%
That's
of,
it?
yeah,
You've
yeah,
already got
like,
my code?
yeah, it's very easy peasy, right? And
Okay,
I will
okay.
send you this, or we can, if you want, I can share my screen and we can take a look
Yeah,
at it,
let me do that right now.
okay?
Just a second here, because we can do that. Hang
Right?
on a minute. Un momento, por favor. That's my little Spanish that I've been practicing here. You are now co-host. You should be able to
Okay.
share your screen. Do they
Share
show
that.
pictures of me when I was a baby?
No, but close, right? So can you see my screen okay?
I can. Okay. Hello. Wow. Yes, I can see
Right?
your screen.
So, right, when you get this, it seems like it's overly complicated, right? Like I looked at mine, I was like, no.
Yeah.
But right here is your type, so your generator. And these
Okay.
people, generators, which is a beautiful thing, so are 70% of the population, and you get your energy, like you have an endless supply of energy, right?
I do
Some
have a
of,
lot of energy. Yes, I
yeah,
do.
some of us other types, and it's maybe not so much energy, but like we need to step back from the world to regain energy, where like you
Well,
can just keep interacting with people
no,
and like, yeah.
no, that's not me though. But anyways, that's okay. Because
Okay.
when I did the MBTI, I'm definitely kind of on the fence with the introvert extrovert. I'm closer to the introvert than I am to the extrovert. That's
Right.
true.
And this has nothing to do with that particularly. This is more how you get your energy. So, like you get really energized, I'm guessing, by interacting with people.
When I'm with people, if I know them, yes.
Okay. Yep. There
But
you
if I
go.
don't know them, no. But if I do know them, yeah.
Great. So, and then you can see, so all these connections here, I think you can see my mouse moving, can't you?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so you have filled in these connections or you're looking, and those all have different meanings. And this can
Oh,
get super, super complicated as you go down. I find it, for me, like I kind of stay at the upper level. This is not, but yeah, it's interesting when you get into these areas.
oh,
What is connected, what is open. Yeah, like you could go on. So you also listen to your gut when you make
yes,
decisions, right? Like it's
yeah,
like I got a feeling here. Um,
yeah, yeah.
and let's pull up your profile so that, oh, then she's
Well,
gonna make us want
can
to
I
see there.
add that
Here's what to do.
I want to add that I didn't always listen to my gut. In fact, I ignored my gut when I was younger. But, as I've evolved and as I've, participated in a lot of different types of transformation and coaching and all that stuff, I now pay attention more to it, obviously. But I didn't when I was a kid. Well, when
Right.
I was a young adult, I should say. So as a kid, I did.
Oh, interesting. So you're the theme that tells you that you're not living your design as frustration. Does that sound right? That's the thing that you know something's not going right when you're frustrated.
And I'm frustrated. Are there other options?
Um,
Because,
yes, probably. And I'm guessing it might be, so all these will have interpretations, right? So it might not be the frustration that we think of. So we would need to
right.
read a little into that to see
Okay.
if it really is, that is uh, how you would notice, start to notice, right? As you go through the world, when you
Oh,
feel whatever frustration looks like for you, then you go, oh, okay, so something's not right in my world, right? I need to
oh,
readjust a little bit.
is that what that means? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
this is lovely. So some of your gifts are
oh,
innovation, marching to your own rhythm, listening
yes,
and collecting stories, patience to
yeah.
develop higher perspectives, tailoring your message. Wow, right?
Listening and collecting stories. Absolutely. I've been doing a lot of that lately.
Great, great.
This is cool. Tailoring your message. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And then, so in all of these, if you went to this, and I'll send you this, your chart, though you could go redo it again, it should come up theoretically the very same thing.
Right,
But
right.
she has little videos here that would tell you more about
Well,
it.
they explain all the inform, it explains what
It
this
will
means.
explain some, yes. Again, there's lots of resources out there on the internet to find out. Um, yeah, but I find it very, like, obviously it, resonated for me. And now,
Yeah.
and the other thing about generators that I love, like you guys are doers, right? As a projector, I'm kind of like this thinker, this big, like I like to look at the strategies and the overview. And I can get sort of lost in the weeds of doing stuff. Doesn't mean
Mm,
that I can't do it. It's just like it's not my super skill.
right.
Where like generators are really amazing doers. They can have a bunch of things going on and they can just do them.
Well, that's interesting because I wasn't always like that. I used to be, and there's probably other reasons that explains that, but in the past, like many years ago, I was more of a list maker. I still had all the ideas that I have now. Well, they were different at the time, but I would create lists and not put it into action. And
Oh,
then, I did go through some, some coaching, some counseling, blah, blah, blah. I went through an evolution of some sort. And now, if I say something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
right? And I'm guessing, yeah, so right, there might have been that time that you didn't realize that was how you were wired, or that would be how you worked best, was to follow through on those. But the list making is a classic generator. The other thing I was going to mention in here is the sign that shows that you're living your design is satisfaction.
Mm, yes.
So, success, like there's all sorts of signs, right? But for generators, it's typically satisfaction, like the job well done, the,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm curious how useful, because I know all the other personality types. I mentioned the MBTI,
right,
that
right,
that was a useful tool for me. It definitely was. And once I know this one more, I'm sure it's going to be very, very useful. How useful is this tool for people, for business people, for example, or even for women that want a different life, because as a coach, I'm always wanting to assist women that they really want to change. They are ladies that they're anticipating pre-retirement. They know it's going to come, but they don't exactly know what they're going to do. Or they're people that they're living through the empty nest. They're knowing it's going to happen, and
right.
it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my? So how useful can these tools, that tool specifically, be helpful to these wonderful
Yeah,
people?
absolutely. And I also brought up too, because I can never remember, that this system is based on the I Ching, astrology, Kabbalah, Hindu
Oh,
Brahmin, chakra system, and quantum physics. So you have
right.
this really interesting, right? Conglomeration of things. But to your point, I really feel like when we understand, I mean, this is beyond personality. I think to a certain extent, personality can be um, adjusted.
Yeah, and it can.
That's maybe not quite the right word, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I really feel like this is how you're hardwired. So understanding um, for so it makes perfect sense. We'll just use my case as being a
Yeah,
projector,
I
like
love that. Yeah.
the doer, because the generator, 70% of the population, that is what work life is based on. That is what our whole society, right, is set up for generators, good, bad, or indifferent. But those of us outside that cycle. And I feel like there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are
Yes.
not generators, right? Doesn't mean that you can't be or anything, but so we just think differently. Um,
Yes. Yeah. And
right?
what I
So
like what you
understanding
said.
that and then really playing to those strengths and those super skills and
Yeah.
leaning into that and going, okay, like if I'm, and the reason this friend reached out to me is she's a generator and she said, I know I need a projector in my life to bounce ideas off of or to give me a different perspective. So I think that's the other beautiful thing is the collaboration potential.
Yes.
Everybody thinks I'm weird now because after I talk to him, get to know him a little bit, I'm like, what's your human design type? Like,
Right.
where can you
Right.
fit
Yeah.
in my world? Because, I might be looking for this person for this, or I'm looking for generators to help me bring ideas to life.
Yeah.
So that collaboration, I think, is
Yeah.
amazing too.
And I'm going to be exploring that tool more. What I love about that tool or any other tool really is that it helps a person understand themselves and probably accept a part of themselves that is like, okay, I am different, but I don't know how or why. I just know I'm different. And there's a lot of us that feel they're different. But at least with this tool here, it helps to explain and you fit somewhere. You fit. And I think
Right?
that fitting piece is so important, right?
Exactly. Maybe, though, I don't know. I think it's important at any age, right? I was going to say maybe it's less important as we age because we kind of get
No,
to
no,
whatever. But I think, yeah, we're always looking for our tribe. And I said to someone, I've always been looking for people who think like me. And when I realized that I'm 20% of the population, one, I was like, I need to just let go of that. and it's no big deal to let go of it. But then too, I started tracking people who were like me, that all of a
Right,
sudden I had all these projectors coming into my world, but I don't know if I'd have recognized them, right?
right.
Without sort of that label almost. But
Yeah.
now I begin to, somebody the other day said they were a manifester. I was like, oh, I totally see that. Like I
Oh,
totally,
well, see,
right,
once you know, right?
understand
Yeah.
where you're coming from and how that shows up for you.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, I've been kind of working on this for personally for many years, and I value it is to show up as who you are, right? Be yourself.
Right. Right.
Be
Yeah.
yourself, and then you will attract or not people that are more like you, and then maybe you'll recognize it fairly quickly when you can fit better with, you know, this particular individual or that particular group. You'll know. But if you're not
Right.
yourself, then you might not feel comfortable, and um, you might not be able to shine.
That, yeah, that is a great point. The other thing I think that this is so cool for is, well, one, it's so easy. You can, like, you could go out and test everybody you knew, right? As long as they give you that information, which is minimal information.
Yeah.
And the ability for parents to understand kids who aren't like them, or
Right.
a significant others, or friends, or um, yeah, it's really interesting. One of my best friends, I had her take the test, and she's a projector as well, but
Oh,
she is not living in her design.
you see?
So
Yeah.
very, yeah, it- yeah. So I'm like, I feel bad about it because I'd love to see her change, but she's not going to, right?
Right,
Um,
right, right.
so, but really fighting against that, staying in a 9 to 5, which is counterintuitive for the way she thinks and works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so understanding other people as well in a very simple way. The same friend, her daughter is a manifesting generator. So she thinks differently, the daughter does, just like naturally. And that it was driving my friend crazy. And she said, until I did this test for her, and I was like, oh, it so explains. So I can give her the grace to be who she is, understanding it's just the way she's wired.
Right. Okay, hang on. Let's back up. Because you said I'm a generator, but she's a manifesting generator.
That there, right? There are two different generator types. So you both generators both get energy from interacting with others or have that endless supply of energy, right?
Okay.
Where the other types need to step back more from the world. Where generators are like, yeah, like we're just doers and goers and beers.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so
I'm
there are two
thinking I
different
might be more
types.
the other one. You know, I'm thinking it might be more the other one, but it doesn't matter because at the very least, um, I think in this case, it might help to know those little fine details. But you mentioned when we before we started our call that those minute details are not that important. You'll still get a general idea, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Right. But you're right. Absolutely. All those numbers mean different things. And
yeah,
then the numbers that are connected mean things. The numbers where there's open spaces, where some of the chakras are not colored in versus colored in. Yeah.
yeah, like,
I have a
man.
like a book about this thick. Yeah, I've not gotten super far, and it's very, very scientifically detailed. Um, so
You
yeah,
know,
you could get as granular. For me, I'm like, I like the 30,000 foot view, right? Like the big picture, it's all good.
and I love learning. I love learning.
Yeah, you
Oh,
would be, I should send you the book so you could dig in and then just give me the Linda notes.
well, hang on a second. What I would do is I'd probably do a scrolling, then I'd probably get bored and go on to something else. That's what I would do.
Right? Right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, it's definitely not a book you want to read at night. Well, you would sleep. I'm just saying, yeah, because your mind would be like, what? I don't,
I
yeah.
know. And then this would kick in, and this would drive me nuts because it's like, oh, now I got to do this, and now I got to do that, and now I want.
Right? Yeah. Right? Be getting out the list. Oh my gosh. Now I'm like I'm totally headed down the rabbit hole. Mm, Yep. Yeah.
So, just a little bit more about this. you mentioned that it's a compilation of different types of like more of like astronomy, astrology, like different ways of viewing an individual, really. Not like the Myers-Briggs. Well, it's based on Jungian's theory. It's completely different.
Right.
I
Yeah, it's
remember,
completely different. And it was, if I remember correctly, and I can't think of the guy's name that developed it, but he had like a download over multiple days of this system and then created it. But yeah, I was gonna see if there was, this one gave much any, yeah, it's a map of the genetic code that shows how our energy is here to correctly engage with the world. So you see how your energy is designed to mechanically navigate the world. Like for instance, for a projector, I work best, and again, this is counterintuitive to the way our world is set up. We're set up to be initiators, right? Like people, we initiate. For me, I work best if I receive. So if somebody invites me to do something, that is how I worked best.
yeah, yeah,
I can
no,
set up the invitation, but that initiation is not my natural.
yes, I get that. And I tend to be more like that too. So I'm really curious about the generator because I tend to want to be invited kind of thing.
Right,
I
right.
tend to that. And I think, I do want to know more about it. I'm curious about it, but I do think that the more we know each other, using that tool, using other tools, the more we can appreciate our strengths. And the focus should be on what we're really good at, as opposed,
Absolutely,
as
right?
opposed to, oh God, well, I'm not good at that. That's definitely not one of my strengths. Once we recognize we have these strengths and abilities, then we're more apt to shine more to our people. Yeah, so
I
it's very useful.
totally agree. And I feel like this one really focuses on that positive and then understanding how you work best, right? So that
Yeah.
you can look for those opportunities that really call to you. That and two, that fact of it's pretty easy once you start recognizing people and understanding how they can support you, right? Because exactly to your point, like, let me live in my strengths. These are the things I know that I don't do well, and it's totally okay. Like, I don't want to do them well. It frustrates me to try and figure out how to do them. So let me, collaborate with you, and you can provide that piece that I don't have.
Right. Yeah. What a great way of looking at that, right? So if anybody out there is building a team, then
Right?
that's one of the ideal ways of determining if they're a good team member or tribe member, if you want to use that
Sure.
word too. Yeah.
Or just even understanding what role they would fit best in,
Mhm.
right? Because, like I say, for me, like the 9 to 5, the same thing every day, death sentence. Like I hated it. Um, so yeah, it's not like I didn't know that, but if somebody else had been able to see that and go, oh, based on this, we know where to put you. Now, I don't think
Right.
I had any intuitive enough bosses or places of employment,
Right. But
but
but I
yeah.
have to say, I knew because I did the 9 to 5 thing when I was an employment consultant. I knew that. I knew going in that after a while I would probably feel like this, I'm and I did, I really did, but I also knew that at that time I needed some stability. I needed
Sure.
that. And so I opted to accept this job, and I'm really glad I did. I met some great friends, which I'm still friends with, and I was able to get that stability. So, at the same time, I think it's important to recognize our needs and recognize what, the human design that we are, and to recognize when it's fears that are kicking in. Because the longest time for me, like in my job, I held on to that job. A lot of it was because I was afraid to jump off that cliff
Sure.
and go out into the entrepreneur world. But I knew there was a fear, but it was an underlying fear. It wasn't like in my face kind of fear. So the more you know about yourself, that awareness piece is so important. The more you know, the more you're
Yeah.
able to make decisions that are based on what you truly, truly, truly want, you know?
Right, absolutely. And what, like I know you'll appreciate this, trusting your gut. Not only think or having, so it's different, right? When you think you know what you want and you know what you want. That somewhere in this, I call it like this, which is stomach.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
rolling
yeah.
my hand, right? Stomach. Um, is where that's where I make decisions from. So just knowing even that part can be liberating.
No, yeah, absolutely. Now, the
Because
tool, the life design tool, like how did you, because the question is, okay, now we've got this information, okay? So when did you start accepting this information as, oh, you know what, this is really who I am? Because you mentioned at the beginning that now you know why you are who you are. And it kind of explained everything. So was it like an instant thing or was it like a gradual kind of acceptance of here I am, like I really am what this tool says I am, you know what I mean? How did
right,
that come about being?
for me, it was an immediate thing. Like it was the light bulb. I was like, oh my gosh, this just explained my life.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that immediate
So,
knowing. So that's really cool because you know a lot of us are looking for an answer, or I should back up a little bit, saying, I don't really know why I don't fit in and all this stuff, and they try different things, and maybe this could be a tool that really helps them feel, you know what, I'm at home now. Now I know.
exactly, right? I know I don't fit in, and it's totally okay.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
it's not like it's me, but it's not me.
Right, right. I love that. Yeah. So thank you. Is there anything else we need to talk about with this tool in particular at all?
I don't think so. Like, go have fun, right? Find out and then start looking at other people and thinking about how you interact and how this shows up in your life. Just so many possibilities and ways you can use it. Uh, you know, I'm, I work with, pardon me, people in sales and marketing, and
Yes.
this can totally affect how you want to do sales and
Well,
marketing, right?
this is where I wanted to go in my next question is because I know I know you're in marketing and this is what you
Right.
do. This is your field. So let's finish it up with a conversation around that piece because I do want you to remind us how we can get a hold of you and then tie the marketing piece to that, please, for us.
Right? Well, I think when we know how we interact with the world and how we want to be invited in, kind of like what you were talking, then that changes our conversation, right? Instead of that initiator, then we need to step back and go, okay, we need to just find ways that we can open the door for people, that people can give us those invitations if we are open to it.
Right,
Um,
right.
and I got to tell you, that mind shift for me has been huge. The people that come into my world now, um, yeah, it's kind of mind blowing. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know. I shared with somebody the other day. I was like, how did I put this? Um, I said, I'm running with some high rollers now. I don't know how it happened, but some guy the other day we met networking and he said, well, I'm looking for people for my mastermind for 25,000. And at first I was like, I don't think I know anybody. And I walked away. I was like, I know 3 or 4 people that would be
Wow.
no big deal for them.
Right, right.
Right. But it's just, I think that understanding how it works for me and not pushing it because
Right.
that didn't work for me and it's super
That's right.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
right?
Lovely.
So I
Yeah.
think when you understand your type, then you can look at what you're doing, marketing, sales, or even business wise, um, and make some adjustments there that
Right.
open those doors to receive.
Right. So
At least
once,
that's, yeah, how I
yeah.
see it's working.
Yeah, so in your case, because you're a marketing genius, I would say, and even a MacGyver, what's the word, MacGyvering genius,
I'll take it.
then like when you start working with a client, do you ask them their type or do you ask them what type they might be? And that way you can kind of shape the marketing strategy a little bit more. Like, tell us a little bit, please, Barbara
Right?
Forrest, please.
Right? Tell us more. Probably, I still think people think I'm weird if I start that way, just saying. But as I get to know someone, I am paying attention to that. And usually down at the, a little bit into the conversation or the next conversation, I'll say, hey, do you know your human design type? And just like this, it's a little bit intriguing. It's something different. It's something a little bit unique. So people are usually open to that.
Right.
But yeah, I haven't started right off the bat with that. Who knows? I might, right? Yeah.
But that's, yeah, that's an interesting conversation because I think, um, like if I was if I was a marketer and, of course I probably wouldn't start with that, of course. I probably would ease my way because it is a useful tool to use in terms of helping them design their approach, their marketing. Absolutely, I could see that. All right.
Great.
And
Great.
of course, I'm going to add the link to your wonderful website as well so that people can find out more. Have things changed since our last chat in terms of the website information and all that?
No, it's still, well, I'm kind of shifting over to a Go High Level site. But yeah, pretty soon there will be a free ebook there. And also, okay, so in all this, the human design, there's some other stuff that's come into it as well. I'm really into breath work, which if anybody, that is amazing, amazing. We could have, yeah, that's my current obsession. Yeah, right, so I do meditation, visualization. So yeah, when you come to me for marketing, you get a whole big realm of other stuff with it.
And I think that's useful to know. That is useful information to know because people think marketing just means, okay, social media posts, let's create those posts. But in your case, it's much more than just that piece. They're
Oh,
getting a bang for their
absolutely.
buck kind of thing.
Right, and helping people get out, like, I don't want to be the face of my brand. You are, news for you, you are the face of your brand. So how do we get beyond that?
Right,
um but yeah, so where I was squirreled down some hole about, and I got all excited about breath work. And
right,
oh, so one of the other things, I've had this idea for a business in a box, or like business in a box and different iterations of it, right? Because I keep hearing out in the marketplace, like people are wanting $3,000 to build a website. Bless your hearts if you can get it and somebody's paying that. And in fact, a woman told me the other day she was charging people $600 for a landing page in Canva. And she said that very straight faced and thought it was a great deal. And I was like, holy moly, right? I know a lot of entrepreneurs that is out of their budget. So I just created a collaboration with a company, and they're going to build websites, for simple websites, for $450. And
well, yeah,
included in that, I'll help you come up with your content, logo, branding, so that very simply, right, and affordably, you can get an online presence,
yeah, that's great. Yeah. I think
right?
because most people, most women, they have, they don't know where to start with that.
Oh,
Like
right.
they
And it
don't.
is.
And it's like, ooh,
And it's
right?
confusing right there.
It
So
is.
it's
Yeah.
amazing on one side because AI has created so much stuff, and it's overwhelming on the other side. Like there's so many options. And if you don't want to learn about building websites and you just want that simple website that I've got an
Yeah.
online presence now. I'm collecting emails from people. Right. It's, yeah. And you got to have that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So I'm
And
super excited about that because I think there's really a need for that.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking of one person in particular there. I'm her accountability coach, and she's in the middle of, adding blogs to her website, but she's told me that she spent a lot of time trying to figure things out on her website. So I'm
Right.
just curious, um, like, would you have an initial call with someone to help you determine how to help them? Like,
Oh,
how does that piece work? Because I know with coaches,
absolutely.
we always have
Right.
these, what you might call them a discovery call. I call them, something else, but there's always that type of call, right? Where you
Absolutely. Yeah. And
talk about,
like I call it a strategy session, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because yeah, I like to look at, or I ask a lot of questions. What are you doing? What have you done? Where are you headed? What are your goals? And then I can base on that. And I'm more than happy to give people free advice, right? If you want to do it yourself, here's the things you need to do, and then come back and see me in 6 months or after
right,
you've done it or whatever. Or
right,
if you
right.
get out there and you find you don't want to do them, you can't do them, you're getting stuck, then come back and let's figure it out. So
Perfect,
yeah,
yeah,
I always do whatever the need is. And that's a beauty of networking is then you create a network, right? The spider web of people that you go, I don't do that, but I know Linda and she does that and she's going to take care of you because I know her.
yeah,
And
that's
that's,
right.
I really, that, like I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on coaches and programs and whatever. Who knows if they worked or not, right? I didn't get the results necessarily that I wanted.
Yeah,
And it wasn't for lack of effort. I'm call BS on that every day of the week. Oh, if you just put in the effort, yeah, no. There's yeah, right. There's so many gurus out there who their system works for them, but it doesn't necessarily translate to everybody
that's
else.
right. And I think,
So,
just to speak to your point about the networking piece, this is one of the reasons I do these calls, right? It helps me to get to know you. And depending on the type of call it is for you, and I shared a little bit more in this interview, so it kind of gave you an idea of who I am and what I'm like and all that. So to give you a chance to get to know me too. This is
right,
what it's about. This is what it's all about, right?
right,
Building that network, building
right.
that
And
network.
yeah, and women, we're such powerful networkers. Like we know how to connect, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just using those skills that we're innately good at for our good and the greater good by connecting
absolutely.
other people, by connecting with other women and sharing our resources. I really believe that a successful business is a team effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that is a good place to end our call. We've talked about human design and networking and the importance of networking and how to network using that particular tool, I think is an interesting piece. Okay, so on that note, because I know we could probably talk forever.
Right? Yes. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Oh,
Always
thank
a
you.
delight to spend time with you.
It has been fun. It's been our second call. We probably will have another one at some point. Who
That's right. We'll
knows?
have to do breath work next time.
I know. I heard that one. All right. Thanks again. Thank you very much, Leslie.